everybody, it's Team tOYNAdo.
Hi everybody, this is Team tOYNAdo. This is Jeff.
And Lindsay.
And we're back with another Star Wars video. And today we're filming the next part of our Star Wars Episode 4 video. Here we start out with the Cantina scene. We have a bunch of characters from the Cantina. Here's where Luke and Obi-Wan were looking to find a pilot to get him off of Tatooine to help save the princess. As they come into the bar, there is a sensor at the door that won't let the droids in, so they leave them outside. In front of the sensor, the character in front of the door, his name's Garridan. He's a spy for the stormtroopers. He has found Luke and Obi-Wan inside the cantina. He's going to report that back to the stormtroopers waiting outside. And these characters that are inside this bar are different smugglers or scoundrels or whatnot. We start over in this corner of this booth. We've got Tequil, who he's got his back to us, or other known as Snaggletooth. Sitting on the other side, we've got Mom Vinden. He's the guy that has the horn on his head. The guy that next to him looks like the Wolfman is named Lak Surak. In between, we have a couple of Jawas that are inside the cantina. If we pan up more towards the front, we've got a couple more aliens here. The guy that is the green guy in a spacesuit, his name is Elors Medic. The guy next to him in the dark blue is Hem Dazon. As we pan to the back of the bar, we have Dr. Evazan. Next to him, we have Ponda Baba. Then we have Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Chewbacca. Obi-Wan has been speaking to Chewbacca. Him and his pilot friend Han Solo have a ship that could get him off the planet. But as Obi-Wan is talking to Chewbacca, Ponda Baba and Dr. Evazan pick a fight with Luke Skywalker. In a moment's notice, they realize that they picked a fight with the wrong guy, as Obi-Wan pulls out his lightsaber and makes haste of Ponda Baba and lops off his arm. Dr. Evazan picks up his friend and looks at him. I guess they say you shouldn't bring a knife to a gunfight. What if the guy's carrying a lightsaber? Wow guys, that was intense. As you can see, you need to be careful when you walk into this place. There are a lot of unsavory characters in here that are looking to pick a fight at any moment. If you look in the middle there, there's our bartender. His name is Woover. Wonder how he keeps his peace within this place and stays alive as long as he has. In front of the bar, we have more characters here. Danik Jericho. He's the guy that's smoking the hookah and has the tentacles coming out of his face. He is somewhat of a vampire type of a creature. Next to him we have Bo Shek. He is basically a pilot, and actually Obi-Wan was speaking to him before he spoke to Chewbacca, but he wasn't going in the same direction they are, and he doesn't want to mess with the Empire. On the other side of the bar, we also have some other characters here sitting at the table. We have Mayum Onath. He's the guy with the little snout there, reaching for his drink. We have Momo Nadon. He's the guy that they used to call Hammerhead when I was a kid. He's holding a drink. And then we've got Ellis Herlot. He's the ghostly looking figure there in the front.
Kind of looks like the guy from Scream.
Over on the right hand side we have another set of aliens. The furry guy at the end that kind of looks like a spider, his name is Muftak. The guy in the middle with the mask on and the four arms, his name is Nabram Leeds. And the guy next to him that looks like the devil, his name's Labria. Now back here in the corner, this is one of the most famous bands in the galaxy. This is the Cantina Band from Episode 4. And everybody can remember this as they panned into the bar with the snazzy little tune that they were playing. Too bad that there's rights to that, or I'd be playing that to the background of this diorama here. But since we can, you kind of see that these are all the guys that were playing in the band from the movie. Alright, and our last two characters at the bar on the right hand side, we have Kitik Keedlak. And that's the one that looks like the praying mantis. And down below, reaching up to get the bartender's attention, is Cabe. And Cabe is friends with Muftak. Oh no! It seems like our pilot, Han Solo, has been detained by Greedo. He is one of Jabba's henchmen. Han Solo owes Jabba money for dumping one of his supply runs when the Empire was on his tail. So, Greedo's here to collect the bounty. However, I don't think Han Solo is going too easy. As the sly smuggler he is, he shoots first and takes out Greedo. So after the scuffle with Greedo, Han meets up with Chewbacca, Obi-Wan, and Luke. They decide to leave the bar and head to a spaceship to leave the planet. Obi-Wan and Luke agree to pay Han Solo handsomely for getting him off this planet to help them save the princess. From here they leave the bar, but unbeknownst to them, their spy friend is following them.
Whoa.
So our heroes leave the bar. Han and Chewie take Obi-Wan, Luke, R2-D2, and C-3PO to their ship, the Millennium Falcon. However, on their way, they're ambushed by stormtroopers. They battle it out until they get on board and take off. So after they leave Tatooine, they're flying in the Millennium Falcon. They're into an asteroid field. Not exactly sure where it's coming from, and what they don't know It's the remnants of Alderaan that has just been destroyed by Darth Vader. We'll get to that scene here in a bit. But our heroes have just escaped the stormtroopers off of Tatooine. Han Solo's feeling pretty good because he owes Jabba the Hutt some money, and he knows he's going to get paid by Luke and Obi-Wan so that he can repay his debt to Jabba, and so he can be a good terms with the evil smuggler. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan and Luke are on their way to save Princess Leia. During their trip, Obi-Wan begins to teach Luke the ways of the Force. This father's lightsaber, he's teaching him how to use the ancient weapon and how to use his mind to see the things clearly so that he can become a Jedi Knight. On the other side, as they're waiting to get to the Death Star, and over here we have Chewbacca and R2-D2 playing holochess. C-3PO is on the ship watching him play as well. Chewbacca gets upset because he loses to R2-D2. C-3PO says there's no reason to get upset for losing to a droid. And Han Solo chimes in, well, a droid can't rip your arms off, can he? Meanwhile, they're watching Luke Skywalker train to become a Jedi as they're heading towards the space station to save Princess Leia. Alright, so up to this point, we've seen a couple of new sets of toys here. The first one was the Cantina diorama. Now this came out in around 1998, 97, 98, and it's a nice little cardboard cutout scene of the bar, and you can find figures for this play set all over the place. Some of them can be kind of expensive, some not. They're from different toy lines. They can be very hard to find, some may be a little easier. The thing is if you can find these in the diorama's out there, it keeps on going up in price, I've noticed, but I found it for like $12 when I first found it, and it comes with a stormtrooper. What's nice about this is you can recreate that scene from Star Wars. There is a tin out there that you can find which is going up dramatically in price that has the band in it. I think I got mine for $20. It's now shooting for 60 bucks. So just a little background on some of those. This is actually the Millennium Falcon from The Force Awakens. Now there have been different Millennium Falcons over the time, and as a kid I had the original one from the original Star Wars. There's not too big of a difference, I'd say, between certain things in here, the way it's laid out, but there are some definitely noticeable differences. The main thing, like you notice, of course, is the radar dish is square, not circle, compared to the other one. The one I had as a kid, the hatch did pop off the back like this one, and you had the little hollow chest table and the seats, and you could set your figures up kind of like what we had. The top did pop off like this, but it didn't have a play set on the back like this one. This extends things out so you can create more of a play set. And the other thing too is the original one had a hiding place where you could hide when the stormtroopers came to your ship. It also had a door that opened off to the side so you can load in and out, just like on the real Millennium Falcon. This one does not have that. Another addition to this one, it does have the sick bay from the movie. The other thing that's kind of neat about this one is it does have from the original movie where they would actually go inside this area here as they were escaping and shoot TIE fighters. This part pops up like this. So if you remember from A New Hope, there's this little space right here where Han and Luke went into to fire the cannons to shoot at the TIE fighters that were coming at them after they escaped the Death Star. This was not in any of the other previous Millennium Falcons, so this is a neat addition to this one. It's got the little radars and maps and stuff like it did in the movie. And that goes back into here, and you can lock it back in. Another thing it has electronic features in it. You put some batteries in there and it does make noises. It does have a hyperdrive in it, and you can move this little lever, it'll fire up the hyperdrive. You pick up the ship, and if you move it back and forth, it makes noises like it's flying through outer space. When it lands, it makes a landing noise. Let's take a look at the front of the ship. The front of the ship has the cockpit. You can fit two people in there. Pop that up and slide them in. Lock it back down. The only thing I found is that Chewbacca is kind of big. He doesn't fit in there really good with Han Solo, but Han Solo and Rey fit in there, Han Solo and Luke fit pretty good. But Chewie's just such a big guy, but he fits in there all by himself. And another feature that it has on it, it's got a big gun. You push this lever right here, a big gun pops out and it shoots Nerf rockets. Kind of a neat addition, depending on who you are, but the thing is that I think they put too many of these Nerf things on these new vehicles. The thing is, it's hidden quite well. But cool little feature, and it does make the noises when it comes out. And then basically you put the lid back on the top and it looks like a spaceship again. So again, this is a great new model for the Millennium Falcon if anybody's looking for this particular toy. You can find it now. So you can find this at many stores or online. If you have any questions about the features or anything, please add it in our comments section. We'll be able to answer some of those questions as well. We're going to be moving on to the next scene here, but we thought we'd stop to do a toy break to show the actual toy. Alright, so catching up with Princess Leia. She's been taken aboard the Death Star by Darth Vader and held prisoner in this prison cell, which is part of the Death Star. She's being interrogated right now by General Tarkin and Darth Vader himself. They have not found the plans yet that were put onto R2-D2, and now they're looking to find out where the rebel base is. Princess Leia will not tell them. They brought out this device of torture that they're going to look to get the information out of Princess Leia. However, she pauses for a minute, tells them that the planet that the rebels are on is Dantooine. Darth Vader knows that that's a lie. It's too small of a planet, he tells him. Realizes that it's actually Alderaan. So to get the princess's attention, he tells the Death Star gunner to fire when ready. The princess pleads no to Lord Vader not to take out Alderaan, but that is her home planet where her family is. Governor Tarkin looks at the Death Star gunner and he says, "You may fire when ready." Death Star gunner shoots a blast that destroys Alderaan. That's where the asteroids came that was in the path of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke Skywalker, and Han Solo when they were traveling through space, leaving Tatooine to find the princess. Big rush comes across Princess Leia as her home world has been destroyed. They put her back in her cell and leave her there. After the destruction of her planet Alderaan, they put Princess Leia back in her cell. Alright, so this scene was set up with a toy from the 95 to 98 toy line. This is the prison cell, the Princess Leia prison cell upon the Death Star. Now, a long time ago, in 1977, they built this monstrous thing that was made out of cardboard and things. It had 3 layers. It had the gel cell, it had the trash compactor, and it had the area where they swing to safety, and then Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader fought it out. This is a nicer reconstruction of that piece right here, and it's got so many things you can set up from different parts of the movie. Like right here, we did the scene where they were going to torture Princess Leia and they put her back into the cell. We'll be using this piece later here in the next few shots. These characters also came from that time period, the 95 to 97. There was a cool little case that came out that these 2 guys in the back are the Death Star troopers, and if you bought one, it had a special pack that had this little mouse droid in it, and it had the little torture ball, a bunch of different guns and accessories, and neat little things that you could use in different scenes or different parts of your collection. So, like you said, you got a guy and a bunch of accessories, and that's where I got the little torture ball and a mouse droid. So Han and Luke were aboard the Millennium Falcon when it got stuck into a tractor beam. They got pulled aboard the Death Star, and they hid in one of the smuggling bays was inside the Millennium Falcon. So the stormtroopers that went on board could not find them. They found R2-D2 and C-3PO though, and took them hostage. Meanwhile, Han and Luke popped out of one of the bays, knocked out 2 stormtroopers, and stole their uniform. They decided to shackle up Chewbacca as a prisoner so they could sneak on board the Death Star to find the princess. So here's a scene depicting Luke and Han Solo dressed up like stormtroopers, and they have Chewbacca chained up in shackles. We have a prisoner here for the cell block detention. You have authorization? Yes, we do. Chewbacca breaks out of his chains and takes out the guard. Aren't you a little too short to be a stormtrooper? I'm Luke Skywalker and I'm here to save you. Alright, as our heroes rescue Princess Leia, they are surrounded by stormtroopers. They're trapped inside the prison. How will they escape? Princess Leia finds a hidden chute that will take them out of the prison. All of our characters head towards the chute and escape. Alright, so our heroes are going to escape through the garbage chute. I know it smells down there, but let's get out of here. So our hero's escape hatch is actually a hatch to a garbage chute within the Death Star. They landed inside of it. They ran into more than what they bargained for. They got more than what they bargained for. There was a tOYNAdo hiding in the garbage chute. It made its way upon the Death Star at some point when they were building it and hid within the trash compactor. One of its large tentacles came out and grabbed Luke and pulled it underneath the trash. Han tried shooting at it, but no, it wouldn't work. Bullets only ricocheted across the doors. Moments later, Luke popped up gasping. Han Solo grabbed his arm and pulled him out. Next thing you know, there was a large sound. The walls started moving in, and the tOYNAdo disappeared, leaving our heroes in here trying to save themselves from being crushed to death. Princess Leia grabs a large iron rod to hold the doors open, while Luke feverishly tries to get C-3PO on his comm to shut down the doors on the trash compactor. Eventually, Luke gets a hold of C-3PO. C-3PO hits the button to stop the trash compactor and our heroes escape. So our heroes got separated as they escaped the garbage chute. Han and Chewie were down one corridor, and they ran into a bunch of stormtroopers, which made them run the other way. Now we catch up with Luke and Leia, and they're being pursued by stormtroopers as well. So as Luke and Leia are trying to escape the stormtroopers, they're able to shut the door on the walkway, blocking out the stormtroopers. And as the stormtroopers come across the other side, they hit a button that removes the ramp to get across. Luke and Leia are stranded on the other side of the chasm, while the stormtroopers behind the other door are diligently trying to make their way in. What are they going to do? So they decide to swing to safety because it's the only way out. Luke and Leia have made it to the other side. They took out the lone trooper that was waiting there for them. As they look to the other side, they can see Han Solo and Chewbacca making their way to the Millennium Falcon. So as Han Solo and Luke Skywalker are rescuing Princess Leia, Obi-Wan was shutting down the generators so they can escape the shields. As he was there, his old nemesis Darth Vader sensed his Force presence and caught up to him. Here it stands, the final battle between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader. And after Luke and Leia had swung to safety, they met up to the other side where they found Han Solo and Chewbacca making their way to the Millennium Falcon with R2-D2 and C-3PO. Luke looked across and he saw Obi-Wan battling Darth Vader for the final time. As Obi-Wan and Darth Vader battled it out, it allowed the stormtroopers to take notice. As Chewbacca and Han Solo, R2-D2 and C-3PO made it to the Millennium Falcon, Luke stood there watching Obi-Wan battle Darth Vader. Darth Vader took one last swing, and all that was left was Obi-Wan's robe. Luke cried, "No, Ben, no!" Leia says he's gone, we need to get going. So they all headed to the Millennium Falcon and escaped the Death Star. However, Darth Vader had installed a tracking device on the Millennium Falcon so that they could find out where the Rebels' base is, so they could destroy it with their new Death Star. Alright, so this is the Death Star segment, and we did a bunch of shots from the Death Star using some of the characters and toys from the Death Star. And we had, as we showed, the prison, and on top of that we had Luke and Han and dressed up as stormtroopers with Chewbacca and shackles. We had a bunch of stormtroopers, we had a bunch of guards. We had the Death Star gunner who took the shot to blow up the planet, Alderaan. We had a bunch of little scenes set up as well. We had, after the prison escape, when they rescued Princess Leia, we had a diorama where they were inside the garbage chute with the tOYNAdo monster and the walls closing in on them. Once they escaped there, we had our heroes meet up for one final shot at the end. One of the famous ones was Luke and Leia swinging to safety, being chased by stormtroopers. We had Han and Chewie being chased by stormtroopers, getting back to the Millennium Falcon. And we had the final duel with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader. We saw Obi-Wan sacrifice himself so Luke could go on. All these characters came from the 95 to 97 toy line. Some were in collections, some were others. The actual diorama that we did for the garbage chute, that was 2002. They made that special. All the other ones were able to set up the Death Star scene. And like I said, all those were in the original one that came from the Death Star that came out in 1977. But I think these ones had a little more detail to them. Again, we had all the characters from those scenes that we did here. And the last and final set of scenes we're going to do is going to be showing some of the X-Wings and TIE Fighters. And we're going to set up with some little die-casts. I've got the die-cast of the Millennium Falcon. There's a bunch of die-casts that Disney made a few years ago that are hard to find now and are going up in price. So we have a few of those we're going to use for the final Death Star scene, as well as the celebration. So this here is the end of the Death Star, and the next scene will be them heading to destroy the Death Star. So Luke and Han escaped the Death Star in the Millennium Falcon. However, they were being pursued by TIE Fighters. Luke and Han go into the turret of the Millennium Falcon to take down these menaces. As you recall before, we showed you a larger scale version of the Millennium Falcon. This one here is a die-cast version. But the larger scale toy we showed you had an actual piece on there that would pop up that would be the turret where you could put in a figure and they could take down the TIE Fighters. So that's pretty much the part of this scene here where they're at. Chewie's flying, Han's in one turret, Luke's in the other, as they take down the TIE Fighters. As they take down the TIE Fighters, they make their way to their new rebel base on Yavin 4. So the Millennium Falcon makes it back to their rebel base on Yavin 4. They take R2-D2 to General Dodonna. From there, Princess Leia reveals the plans from R2-D2 that shows how to destroy the Death Star. So General Dodonna gathers the greatest pilots in the rebel army to go out and destroy the Death Star. The group is led by Dutch, along with Wedge. Wedge used to be a TIE Fighter pilot, but during the Rebels' ascent, he defected to the Rebels from the Empire. We also have Luke Skywalker and his friend Biggs, who we grew up with on Tatooine. So as our brave Rebel pilots get ready to board their X-Wings to go and destroy the Death Star, Han Solo approaches Luke to say goodbye, because he has a bounty on his head from Jabba the Hutt. He's not going to be able to help the Rebels take out the Death Star. This upsets Luke for a moment, but he realizes that Han has to do what Han has to do, take care of himself. As Han and Chewie prepare to leave and go pay back Jabba the Hutt, our brave pilots get into their X-Wings and get ready to head for one final battle with the Empire. As the rebels headed to space, they were confronted by a bunch of TIE fighters. There was a fierce battle out among the stars until they decided to make a run for the Death Star. Gold Leader Dutch was the first one to take a run to the Death Star. He was soon taken out by TIE fighters, led by Darth Vader. After a few attempts to make a run at the Death Star, they were down to their last ships. Luke Skywalker, Wedge, and Biggs were the last three. They decided to stick together and make one more run to destroy the Death Star. Luke was out front, Biggs and Wedge had his tail. Again, Darth Vader and his TIE fighter and two other TIE fighters pursued. As they were battling their way, Biggs was blown up and destroyed. That left only Wedge to help Luke out to destroy the Death Star. Darth Vader locked in and shot Wedge's ship, knocking it out of commission. Wedge had to pull out of the trench. This left only Luke Skywalker. As he was approaching his target, he was getting ready to put his targeting mask on, and from the back of his mind he heard a familiar voice. It was Ben Kenobi telling him to use the Force, to let go. So Luke put his targeting device up and decided to use the Force to be able to take out the Death Star. However, he was still being pursued by Darth Vader and the two TIE fighters. However, Darth Vader could sense something about this young pilot that was getting closer to destroying the Death Star. He sensed the Force within this pilot. He started to lock on to the ship as Luke was getting ever so closer. Darth Vader was about ready to shoot down Luke's ship when all of a sudden here comes Han Solo in the Millennium Falcon. He takes out the two TIE fighters in the back, takes a shot, and knocks Darth Vader out into outer space. As he shouts, "You're all clear, kid." Darth Vader's ship went tumbling into outer space. Luke was all clear to take his final shot. Closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and fired. And that one shot hit the target. As Luke pulled out of the trench back into space, the Death Star exploded. Alright, so we thought we'd stop and do another toy shoot. Here we have Luke's X-Wing fighter. It's very detailed. Also has a cockpit that opens up. Inside we have Luke Skywalker. Up behind we have R2-D2. This is a set mold within inside the ship itself. When you press down on it, it'll raise the wings for combat mode. Also has some detail, some battle damage on it. There's a shot from behind. This is from the 1995 edition. Looks a lot like the one from the early 70s, except for this is a lot more detail to it. And I think this is one of the better looking X-Wings that they have out there. Some of the older ones and the newer ones I don't think look as good as this one. If you want to bring the wings back down, there's a little button on top. You just press it. It goes back to gliding mode. Alright, the next product I like to bring in is a TIE fighter. TIE stands for Twin Ion Engine. This is another one from the 1995 series. As you can see, it's got some details. If you look inside the window there for the cockpit, you can actually see the engine. Top opens up where you can put your pilot in there. We have a TIE fighter pilot resting inside there. In battle, you can press a button and the wings come off. There's a side view, and there's the back view, and the other side view. These are very simple ships in a sense, but they're very hard to detect in space because of their color. They blend in with the background. It's kind of funny, I think that the Empire win more battles because their ships were hard to see, and the Rebels seem to have theirs all white, or even back in the early days, yellow. Probably easier to see than something in this shade of color, or black like they did with the TIE fighters. So again, this is a TIE fighter toy. Again, nice piece for the collection, if you're a Star Wars fan. And moving on to the last ship from A New Hope, this is Darth Vader's TIE fighter. Again, if you look down the cockpit, you can actually see detail like on the other TIE fighter, where you can see images of the cockpit and some of the engine. This one also came out around the same time, 1995. As you see in the front, it does have launching missiles, it does have an open cockpit. You can put Darth Vader in there. As you can see, this is a much larger ship than the TIE fighter. There's the back side, the other side, and again back to the front. This also has a lever at the bottom. It brings out retractable guns. It also has other little plastic missiles that can launch by pressing one of these buttons here on each side. So again, this is another nice toy to the collection. Again from 1995. Great to add to any Star Wars fans collection from A New Hope. And that'll be it for the toy reviews. Some of the other pieces that we've had in this other part of the video again are coming from the action figure collection from about the same time. Some of the other ones were a little newer. I found down the line they didn't have them back then. Dutch was part of the Black series. General Dodonna, he was from a different, a later series as well. Wedge, actually got him in a 3-pack where the background was They had a 3-pack of pilots, and then you got the little background display that was shot from the hangar. So again, this is the last of our ships for this toy video. And from here, we're just going to go on to the final scene from the movie. We hope you've enjoyed it up to this point. So after the destruction of the Death Star, Luke and Han headed back to Yavin 4. From there, they were greeted by General Dodonna and Princess Leia and awarded medals for their bravery, for they have stopped the Empire's largest threat, the Death Star. For now, the rebels have won. And this is the end of our story.
Hey all you Team tOYNAdo friends, thanks for watching today, our second part of Star Wars A New Hope. We hope you enjoyed everything today. Let us know in the comment section below what your favorite scene was. Don't forget to give us a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe, it's free. See you next time. We're going to be reenacting all of the Star Wars movies. See you later.